The air in my office is cold. It's the kind of sterile, manufactured cold that bites at your skin even through a sweater, a cold I designed myself to keep the servers from overheating. Right now, it feels like it's seeping into my bones, a perfect mirror for the ice forming in my veins. My fingers hover over the keyboard, a breath away from the custom-coded enter key. On the main monitor, a satellite map glows. A single blue, pulsing gently like a placid heartbeat, is stationary in the parking lot of a restaurant I've never been to. A restaurant called the Seraphine, how cliché. The blue is Athena, my car, my creation, my sanctuary. And inside her, someone else is sitting in my seat. My thumb traces the rim of my coffee mug. It's bone dry. I haven't taken a sip in over an hour. My own heartbeat is a frantic, panicked bird beating against the cage of my ribs. But my hand, the one poised over the key, is perfectly still. Rock steady. This is the moment. The culmination of 3 months of sleepless nights, whispered phone calls to a lawyer who smelled of old paper and justice, and endless lines of code that felt more like writing a death sentence. A new icon flashes on a secondary screen. A small microphone symbol. I enabled the internal mics an hour ago. I shouldn't listen. It's a violation. But then I remember the lipstick on his collar, the smell of unfamiliar perfume on my own pillows, the way he looked at me last night, his eyes as empty as a boarded-up house. He forfeited his right to privacy the moment he brought her into our life, into my space. I click the icon. Her laugh fills my headphones first. It's high and light, the kind of laugh that's meant to be noticed. It sounds like tinkling glass, and I want to shatter it. Then his voice, low and rumbling, the voice that once promised me forever. He's telling her how incredible the car is. Lena designed the whole interface, he says, and the casual use of my name from his lips, spoken to her in my car, is a physical blow. She's a genius with this stuff. A bit of a nerd, but brilliant. A bit of a nerd. That's what I am to him now. The brilliant nerd who paid for this car, this life, this dinner he's about to have with her. It's beautiful, she coos. It feels powerful. A cold smile touches my lips. Oh, you have no idea. You have no idea what real power feels like. But you're about to. My finger descends. It doesn't shake. It presses the ridged surface of the enter key. On the screen, a single line of code executes. Run. Persephone_protocol, a small green box flashes. Active. I lean back in my chair, the leather creaking in the silence of the room. I take a deep, slow breath, and for the first time in months, it doesn't feel like I'm breathing shards of glass. It feels like I'm breathing air. Clean, cold, victorious air. Now, we wait. If you've ever felt that cold fire of betrayal, that moment where you decide you're done burning and you're ready to become the flame, tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one. And please subscribe. It helps me share these moments, and you never know who else needs to hear that they can take back control. It started, as these things so often do, with a whisper. Not a literal one, but a gradual silencing of the life we had built. The laughter that used to echo in our hallways faded into polite, hollow smiles. The easy conversations over dinner became a tense series of questions and one-word answers. Mark was a ghost in our home long before his affair began. He was a master of presence through absence. He'd be sitting right next to me on the sofa, his warmth a familiar pressure against my side, but his mind, his soul, was a million miles away. I could feel the distance growing like a crack in the foundation of our house, slow and insidious, until one day you realize the whole structure is compromised. I'd ask him, "Is everything okay?" And he'd give me that placid, infuriating smile. "Of course, babe. Just tired. Work has been brutal." Work. It was always work. The late nights, the last-minute business trips, the frantic calls he had to take in another room. I, of all people, understood the demands of a high-pressure career. My own life was a testament to it. I built my career from the ground up, line by line, algorithm by algorithm. I am a software architect, a designer of systems. I create order out of chaos. I build digital worlds with rules and parameters that make sense. My life with Mark used to feel like that, a perfectly designed system. We were partners, collaborators, building a future together. The car, Athena, was supposed to be the ultimate expression of that partnership. It wasn't just a car. It was my magnum opus, a project I'd poured my heart and soul into for 2 years. I'd bought the chassis of a high-end electric vehicle and gutted it. I redesigned the entire operating system from scratch. I wanted a car that wasn't just a mode of transportation, but an extension of my home, my office, my mind. I coded every feature myself. The biometric security that unlocked the doors with my thumbprint. The ambient lighting that shifted with my mood, detected through subtle cues in my voice and heart rate. The navigation system that learned my habits, suggesting a detour to my favorite coffee shop when it sensed stress in my tone. Mark had called it my obsession. He'd laughed when I spent entire weekends buried in code, my fingers flying across the keyboard, muttering about encryption keys and user interface fluidity. "It's just a car, Lena," he'd say, kissing the top of my head. But it was more than that. It was my art. It was proof that I could create something seamless, something intelligent, something beautiful and strong. I named her Athena, after the goddess of wisdom and warfare. She was my chariot and my fortress. He was proud of it, in his own way. He loved showing it off to his friends and colleagues. "My wife built this," he'd boast, draping an arm around me. All of it. The whole brain, and I'd feel a flush of pride, a sense that we were still a team. That my success was our success. I see now that he wasn't proud of me. He was proud of owning something impressive. I was just another asset in his portfolio, like his expensive watch or his corner office. The brilliant nerd who built him a cool toy. The whisper of his affair became a murmur, then a low, steady hum I couldn't ignore. It was in the way he guarded his phone, angling it away from me as if I were trying to steal state secrets. It was in the credit card bills with charges from restaurants I'd never heard of, florists I'd never used. When I'd ask, the answers were always smooth, plausible. "It was a client dinner, honey. Those were for a colleague whose mother passed away. He was a brilliant liar."
"So come, sorry, Annabelle."
He had a gift for making me feel like the crazy one, the suspicious, untrusting wife. He'd turn it around so expertly that I'd end up apologizing to him. Apologizing for my own intuition. The inciting incident, the moment the hum became a scream, was small and pathetic.
It was a Tuesday.
I was doing laundry, a mundane task in the middle of a life that was quietly falling apart. I was gathering his clothes from the hamper when something fell out of his jeans pocket. It wasn't a receipt or a phone number. It was a single, diamond stud earring. Small, delicate, and definitely not mine. I stood there in the laundry room, the sterile scent of detergent filling my lungs, and I held the earring in the palm of my hand. It was a tiny, glittering star of betrayal. It was so concrete, so irrefutable. You can explain away a text message. You can lie about a dinner receipt. But you can't explain a woman's earring in your pocket when your wife's ears aren't pierced. My world didn't shatter.
It simply dissolved.
The floor beneath my feet felt like sand. The walls of my home seemed to waver, no longer solid. I looked at this tiny piece of metal and crystal, and I saw everything. The late nights weren't about work. The secret phone calls weren't with clients. The distance wasn't just fatigue. It was another woman. Another life he was living without me. I didn't confront him right away. What would I say? I held the earring, and all I felt was a profound, hollow numbness. I walked through the house, our house, and saw it all with new eyes. The photos on the mantelpiece were a lie. The bed we shared was a crime scene. Every "I love you" he had ever uttered echoed in my mind as a taunt. I went into my office, the one place that still felt like mine, and I sat in my chair. I looked at the schematics for Athena's core programming on my screen. Logic. Order. Rules. Everything my life suddenly lacked. That night, when he came home, I said nothing. I watched him. I studied him like a foreign piece of code, looking for the bug, the flaw in the system. He kissed me, a dry, absent-minded peck on the cheek, and his lips felt like a stranger's. He talked about his day, a long, boring monologue about meetings and deadlines. And I saw it. The lie was in the architecture of his sentences, in the too perfect details, in the way his eyes never quite met mine. He was a poorly written program, full of bugs and backdoors. And I, the master architect, had never noticed. I went to bed that night and lay beside him. The cold space between us a vast, icy chasm. I held the earring in my fist, the sharp edges digging into my palm, a painful, grounding reality. The numbness was beginning to fade, replaced by a slow, creeping cold. It was the cold of realization, the cold of a love that had died and was starting to decay. And beneath that, something else. A flicker, a tiny pilot light of anger. It was the first warm thing I had felt all day. My first attempts to deal with the new reality were clumsy and weak. I was a ship without a rudder, tossed around on a sea of grief and confusion. I confronted him a few days after finding the earring. I chose a quiet Sunday morning, the air thick with the scent of coffee and the illusion of domestic peace. I sat him down at the kitchen table, the tiny diamond earring placed carefully on the polished oak between us. "I found this in your pocket," I said, my voice barely a whisper. He looked at it, then at me. His face was a mask of perfect, placid confusion. "Okay, what is it?" "It's an earring, Mark. A diamond earring. And it's not mine." He stared at it for a long moment, and I could almost see the gears turning in his head, the rapid calculation of lies and deflections. He was searching for the most plausible algorithm of deceit. Then he looked up, and his expression was one of gentle pity. It was a masterstroke of emotional manipulation. "Oh, honey," he said, his voice soft and patronizing. "Is that what this is about? You've been so distant." I knew something was wrong. He reached across the table and tried to take my hand, but I pulled it away. "It's from the company gift basket. We gave them out to all the female executives at the conference last month. One must have fallen into my pocket when I was setting them up." "I can't believe you'd think." He shook his head, a look of profound disappointment on his face. "I can't believe you'd think I would cheat on you." He was so good. So convincing. For a split second, I almost believed him. I wanted to believe him. I wanted this ugly, jagged piece of reality to be a misunderstanding. But my intuition, that deep, primal part of me that I had been taught to ignore, screamed at me. It was a lie. The way he'd paused before answering, the subtle shift in his eyes, the over-the-top performance of hurt innocence.
It was all a lie.
"A conference?" I asked, my voice shaking. "The one in Denver?" "Yes, that's the one," he said, seizing the opportunity. "You remember. The one you told me was for male executives only," I said, my voice flat. "The one you said was a boys' club retreat." The silence that followed was deafening. The mask slipped. Just for a second, I saw a flash of pure panic in his eyes. He had been caught in his own web of lies. But then, just as quickly, it was gone, replaced by anger. The classic gaslighter's pivot. When caught, attack. "I can't believe this," he spat, standing up so fast his chair scraped against the floor. "I work myself to the bone for us, for this family, and you accuse me of this? You're insecure, Lena. You're paranoid. You need to see someone. This obsession with your work and your car is making you crazy." He stormed out of the room, leaving me alone at the table with the earring and the shattered pieces of his lie. And he was right about one thing. I was going crazy. I was being driven crazy by his constant deception. He made me doubt my own sanity, my own perception of reality. For the next few weeks, I was lost in a fog. I'd cry for hours, locked in my office. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. I'd lie awake at night, listening to his steady breathing beside me, and I would feel a terror so profound it was paralyzing. I was sharing a bed with a stranger, an enemy who wore the face of the man I loved. I tried to find more proof, to catch him in a lie so undeniable that even he couldn't squirm his way out of it. I became a detective in my own home. I checked his phone when he was in the shower, my hands trembling so hard I could barely type in the passcode I'd guessed correctly on the third try. Her name, Tiffany. My heart hammered against my ribs as I scrolled through messages that were a nauseating mix of sickeningly sweet nothings and graphic descriptions of their encounters. The details were a knife in my gut, twisting and turning.
They talked about me. They laughed about me.
He called me his ice queen, his robot wife, who cared more about code than about him. She called me the warden. The betrayal was deeper than I could have ever imagined. It wasn't just sex. He was dismantling me, piece by piece, to this other woman. He was taking my insecurities, my vulnerabilities, the secret things I had only ever told him, and he was serving them up to her for their amusement. My work, my passion, became his weapon against me. The very thing I was most proud of, my intellect, my career, my creation in Athena, he twisted into a character flaw. He painted me as cold, unfeeling, and obsessive. And the worst part was, I started to believe him. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe I had driven him to this. Maybe if I had been warmer, more attentive, less focused on my work, he wouldn't have had to seek comfort elsewhere. I was drowning in the poison he was feeding me. The world outside our home began to shrink. He started subtly poisoning my relationships with our friends. He'd tell them I was going through a hard time, that I was unstable, depressed. He was laying the groundwork, building his narrative so that when the inevitable explosion happened, he would be the victim, the long-suffering husband, and I would be the crazy, unstable wife. Friends would call, their voices laced with a pity I didn't understand. Mark told us you've been struggling. We're here for you if you need anything. They were his friends now, not mine. I was isolated, alone on an island of his making. The affair grew more brazen. He stopped trying to hide it. One evening, I was driving home, and I saw his car parked outside a wine bar downtown. I pulled over, my heart a cold, heavy stone in my chest. I watched through the window as he sat at a small table, laughing with a blonde woman. Tiffany, I presumed. He was touching her hand, his expression open and adoring in a way he hadn't looked at me in years. He looked happy. And that single observation was more painful than all the lies and secret messages combined. He was happy without me. I drove away, my vision blurred with tears. I got home and collapsed on the floor of my office, the one room he rarely entered, my sanctuary. I was surrounded by my work, my creations, the logical, orderly world I had built. But my own life was in chaos, a system failure of catastrophic proportions. I felt utterly and completely powerless. He was going to leave me. He was going to take half of everything I had worked for, destroy my reputation, and walk away with her, leaving me with nothing but the ruins of our life. All seemed lost. I had no fight left in me. I was just a ghost in my own life, waiting to be exorcised. The shift happened on a rainy Thursday night, the kind of relentless, miserable rain that matches the mood inside your soul. Mark was on another one of his business trips. I knew where he was. Her Instagram, which I checked with a masochistic compulsion, had a picture of 2 wine glasses clinking together, with the caption, "Finally, a relaxing weekend away." The location tag was a cozy looking in just a few hours from our city. Our city. My city. I was sitting in Athena, parked in the garage. The rain was hammering on the roof, a frantic, angry rhythm. I hadn't intended to go anywhere. I just needed to get out of the house, which no longer felt like my own. It felt contaminated, haunted by his lies. The garage was my only neutral territory. And inside Athena, it was my embassy, my sovereign ground. The interior lights were on, casting a soft, blue glow. It was the calm setting I had programmed, designed to lower heart rate and encourage relaxation. It wasn't working. My heart was a frantic drum, my mind a storm of pain and humiliation. I looked at the custom dashboard I had designed, the sleek, minimalist interface that responded to my touch, my voice. I had built this. Every line of code, every pixel on the screen was mine. I rested my forehead against the cool leather of the steering wheel. The smell of the car, a mix of new electronics and expensive leather, was comforting. It was the smell of my own achievement. He had called me a robot, an ice queen. He and his new woman had laughed at my passion, dismissed my life's work as a quirky obsession. He used the fruits of my labor, the money, the house, this car, to fund his betrayal, all while demeaning the very intellect that provided it. And that's when it happened. The rain hammered down, the blue light hummed, and a new feeling began to crystallize within me, pushing through the thick, suffocating fog of despair. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't self-pity. It was rage. A cold, clean, diamond-hard rage. He thought I was a robot? He thought I was an unfeeling machine?
Fine.
A machine is logical. A machine is precise. A machine does not get emotional. It executes its programming. It follows its directives. It achieves its objective, efficiently and without remorse. I sat up, my back straight. I looked at the main console. My fingers flew across the screen, pulling up the core system files, the architectural blueprint of Athena's digital soul. I had built-in backdoors, master control programs, kill switches. I had designed it for security, for diagnostics, for emergencies. I had built a fortress. And I realized in that moment that a fortress can also be a prison. The idea sparked, not like a warm flame, but like a blue-white electrical arc. It was brilliant. It was vicious. It was perfect. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I wasn't going to be the victim. Victims plead and suffer. I was going to be the architect. Architects design and build. And sometimes they design traps. I was going to use my creation, my supposed obsession, the very symbol of my coldness, to deliver a response. Not an emotional outburst. Not a tearful confrontation. A logical, systematic, and inescapable consequence. He wanted to play games? I would design a game he couldn't possibly win. The board would be my city, the pieces would be him and her, and the master controller would be me. The plan began to form, elegant and complex. The car was the centerpiece, the grand, theatrical finale. But it wasn't the whole story. The real victory wouldn't be public humiliation. That was just a bonus. The real victory would be dismantling his life with the same precision and skill I used to write code. He had attacked my heart. I would attack his infrastructure. I started that night. The rain still drumming its war cry on the roof. I pulled my laptop from my bag and plugged it into Athena's onboard diagnostic port. Her systems were an open book to me. I began to write a new protocol. I called it the Persephone Protocol. In the old myths, Persephone was the queen of the underworld, dragged down against her will. But when she emerged, she brought the spring. She was a symbol of both vulnerability and power. This protocol would be my emergence. I wasn't just going to fight back. I was going to rewrite the entire system. And he, the virus in my life, was about to be quarantined, isolated, and deleted. The Ice Queen was done melting. It was time for the robot to get to work. The next 3 months were a masterclass in compartmentalization. By day, I was the quiet, withdrawn wife. I played my part. I made dinner. I asked about his day. I let him believe his gaslighting was working, that I was a fragile, broken thing he could easily manage. But at night, my real work began. My office became a war room. The hum of the servers was the sound of my army assembling. My first call was to a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, but the most ruthless, shark-like divorce attorney in the city. Her name was Evelyn Reed, and she had a reputation for eviscerating cheating spouses in court. I met her in a sterile, anonymous coffee shop far from my usual haunts. She was sharp, dressed in a severe gray suit, with eyes that missed nothing. I laid it all out. The suspicions, the earring, the text messages I had photographed, the Instagram posts I had screenshotted. I expected pity. Instead, she gave me a thin, approving smile. "Good," she said, her voice crisp. "Emotion is a liability. Data is an asset. You have data." She gave me my instructions. Do not confront him. Do not let him know you know anything. Act normal. And gather more data. Financial data. Follow the money, Mrs. Thorne, she'd said. It's a trail of breadcrumbs that always leads back to the truth. So I became a forensic accountant in my own marriage. Mark handled our finances, a gesture I had once found romantic and protective. You focus on your brilliant work, babe, he'd said. I'll handle the boring stuff. I see now it wasn't protection. It was control. He had woven a complex web of accounts, credit cards, and investments designed to be opaque. But he underestimated me. A financial ledger is just another kind of code. And I am very, very good at debugging. I started with the shared accounts, tracing transfers. Small amounts at first, then larger ones, moved to an account I didn't recognize. I cross-referenced the dates with his business trips. They matched perfectly. I hired a private investigator, a recommendation from Evelyn. A quiet, unassuming man named Arthur, who looked more like a librarian than a detective. He was worth every penny. He brought me photos. Mark and Tiffany, kissing outside her apartment. Mark and Tiffany, shopping for jewelry, my money buying trinkets for my replacement. Mark handing her a key. A key to her apartment?
No.
Arthur had gotten a clear shot. It was a key to a post office box. That was the thread I needed. With some clever social engineering and a deep dive into public records, I found the LLC registered to that P.O. box. It was a shell corporation, with Mark as the sole director. And that LLC had just purchased a condo in Tiffany's building. He wasn't just having an affair. He was building a new life, a secret nest, using our joint assets. He was stealing from me, from our future, to fund his. The sheer audacity of it left me breathless. While the financial case was building, brick by painful brick, I perfected my own project, the Seraphine protocol. I coded it directly into Athena's core operating system, hiding it behind layers of encryption. It was a ghost in the machine, invisible to any standard diagnostic. It was designed to be triggered remotely by me and only me. The protocol had several stages. Stage 1, engine kill. The electric motor would be completely disabled, no overrides possible. Stage 2, central locking. All doors, windows, and even the sunroof would lock and become inoperable from the inside. The internal manual releases would be electronically disabled. Stage 3, system takeover. The main infotainment screen, the one he was so proud of, would go black, then display a single, custom message. Stage 4, communication blackout. The car's cellular and Wi-Fi connections would be severed, except for a single, open line to my personal cell phone. No calling for help. No calling a taxi. No calling anyone but me. I tested the subroutines 100 times, running simulations in the dead of night. I needed it to be flawless. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about control. He had taken control of my life, my emotions, my home. I was going to take it back, one line of code at a time. The hardest part was the waiting. Living with him, day in and day out, was a special kind of hell. I had to smile when he told me he loved me, knowing he had probably said the same thing to her hours before. I had to listen to his complaints about work, knowing he was probably complaining about me to her. I felt like a spy in my own life, gathering intelligence, waiting for the right moment to strike. There were moments of doubt, of course. Late at night, the anger would subside, leaving behind the raw, aching wound of heartbreak. I would look at him sleeping, the man I had loved, the man I had built a life with, and I would wonder if I was becoming a monster. Was this elaborate, cold-hearted plan making me just like him? Then he did something that vaporized every last shred of my doubt. He asked to borrow Athena. It was a Saturday morning. He came into my office, a rare occurrence. He had a charming smile on his face, the one he used when he wanted something. "Hey, babe," he said, leaning against the doorframe. "I have a huge favor to ask. I need to take a potential client out to impress him today. Top-tier guy. I was wondering if I could borrow Athena? My sedan just doesn't have the same wow factor." I froze. My blood ran cold. Borrow my car. My Athena. My sanctuary. The thought of him, in my car, with her, made me physically ill. She had been in his car. She had been in my house. I was sure of it when I was away. But Athena? That was a line. That was a desecration. I kept my face neutral.
I don't know, Mark.
You know how I feel about other people driving her. The system is calibrated to me. I know, he said, his voice wheedling. But this is important. It could mean a huge commission. For us. For us. The lie was so bald, so insulting. I looked at him, at this stranger wearing my husband's face, and my resolve hardened into something unbreakable. He wanted to use my creation to impress another man, but I knew. I knew who he was really trying to impress. He wanted to show her off, show my car off. He wanted to give her a taste of the life he was planning with her, a life built on my work. Okay, I said, my voice quiet. But you have to be careful. His face lit up. Thank you, Lena. You're the best. I promise I'll be careful. He didn't know. He had no idea. He thought he was getting the keys to a car. He was wrong. He was asking for the key to his own undoing. He wasn't just borrowing my car. He was stepping into my trap. The final piece of the plan had just clicked into place. The robot was ready to execute her program. The day arrives like any other. A pale, watery sun filters through the blinds. The air is still, but to me, the world feels different. It's humming with a strange, electric potential. It's the day I take my life back. I go through the motions of a normal morning. I make coffee. I read the news. Mark is in a ridiculously good mood, humming as he gets dressed. He's wearing his most expensive suit, the charcoal gray one I bought him for our anniversary last year. The irony is so thick I could choke on it. Big day, he says, straightening his tie in the hall mirror. He catches my eye in the reflection. Wish me luck. Good luck, Mark, I say, and my voice is surprisingly steady. I hope you get everything you deserve. He misses the double meaning, of course. He just grins, kisses me on the cheek, a quick, dismissive gesture, and grabs the key fob for Athena from the bowl by the door. I watch him walk out. The sound of the garage door opening is like the curtain rising on the first act of a play. My play. I don't go to my office at home. I go to a small, anonymous workspace I rented a month ago under a false name. It's a tiny, windowless room with a desk, a chair, and a screamingly fast internet connection. My new headquarters. My command center. I set up my laptop. On one screen, I have the satellite tracking for Athena. On another, the encrypted communication channel to my lawyer, Evelyn. On the third, a direct feed to the Persephone Protocol's control panel. I am surrounded by data, by logic, by the architecture of my revenge. I watch the blue, representing Athena, move across the city map. It heads downtown to his office. He's picking her up. Of course. He's not even trying to be subtle anymore. The arrogance is breathtaking. The blue stays stationary for 10 minutes, then starts moving again. It heads west, towards the upscale part of town, where the restaurants are expensive and the clientele is discreet. My heart is pounding, a frantic, wild thing. This is it. This is real. My finger hovers over the mouse. Not yet. I have to wait for the perfect moment. Location is everything. I need them to be comfortable. I need them to be smug. I need them to be in a place where escape is difficult and public. The blue turns into the parking lot of the Seraphine, a ridiculously pretentious, new money establishment known more for its valet service than its food. Perfect. It's a place to be seen. I wait. I watch the 5 minutes. 10. They're probably admiring the car. He's probably letting her sit in the driver's seat. The thought sends a fresh wave of cold fury through me. That seat is molded to my body. The steering wheel is programmed to my grip. It's a violation on an intimate level. Then the tracker shows a small, almost imperceptible shift. The car has moved a few feet. He's letting her park it. He's letting her drive my car. That's it. That's the final insult. The final line crossed. My hand is steady as I click the mouse. I type in the final authorization code, a long, complex string of characters that spells out a Greek word, Nemesis. I hit enter. Run. Persephone_protocol. The small green box flashes. Active. I put on my headphones and click the icon to activate the internal audio feed. The silence is what I hear first. Her light, tinkling laugh is gone.
His low voice is gone.
There's just a strange, dead air. Then a click. A loud, definitive clunk as every lock on the car engages simultaneously. What was that? It's her voice, sharp with confusion.
I don't know, Mark says.
The door's just locked. I can hear him fumbling with the handle. It won't open. What the hell? Try the window, she says, her voice rising in pitch. A moment of silence, then nothing. Nothing is working. The whole console is dead. Another silence. I can picture the scene perfectly. The two of them, trapped in the luxurious leather and chrome interior of my beautiful car, the silence pressing in on them. The initial confusion turning to annoyance, then to fear. This is your wife's car, right? Tiffany asks, and there's an edge of accusation in her voice. Did she do this? Don't be ridiculous, Mark scoffs, but his voice lacks conviction. It's a glitch. One of her stupidly complicated systems probably crashed. He's banging on the window now. Hello? Can anyone hear us? I smile. The sound dampening I installed is state-of-the-art. They could scream their lungs out, and no one would hear a thing. Then the second stage of the protocol engages. The main screen, the 27-inch custom display that dominates the dashboard, flickers to life. It's no longer showing the navigation or the media player. It's a black screen with simple, white text. I can't hear what they're saying anymore, but I can imagine it. I can imagine their faces, illuminated by the cold, digital glow of the screen, as they read the words I wrote myself. This vehicle has been remotely disabled due to an unauthorized user violation. To restore functionality, please exit the vehicle and return it to its registered owner. Return me to my owner. A new sound comes through the microphone. It's a small, choked gasp, then another. She's crying. Softly at first, then building into full-blown, hysterical sobs. It's not the sound of sadness. It's the sound of humiliation. The sound of a carefully constructed fantasy world collapsing in on itself.
Mark is yelling now.
He's screaming my name. He's calling me every horrible name in the book. He's hammering his fists against the bullet-resistant glass. It's pointless. He's a rat in a cage. A very expensive, very beautiful cage that I built. My phone rings. It's him. The car is routing his call directly and only to me, just as I programmed. I let it ring 3 times, then I answer. I put it on speaker. Lena, he roars, his voice distorted with rage. What the hell did you do? Turn this car on right now. I take a sip of water. My throat is dry. I make my voice sound calm, slightly confused. Mark? What's wrong? You're yelling. Don't play dumb with me, you psycho. We're trapped in here. The doors won't open. There's some kind of crazy message on the screen. Oh, that. I say, as if just remembering. That's the new security protocol I was testing. It must have misidentified your passenger as a carjacker. It's very sensitive. It's designed to protect the car from being stolen. A carjacker, he sputters. Tiffany's sobs intensify in the background. Lena, I swear to God, if you don't turn this off right now. I can't, I say simply. Not remotely. The protocol is designed to be tamper-proof. The only way to reset it is for the unauthorized user to exit the vehicle. Once her weight is off the passenger seat sensor, the system will reboot and the driver's side door will unlock after a 60-second delay. There's a long silence on the other end of the line. I can hear the furious, frantic thoughts spinning in his head. He understands. He's trapped not by a glitch, but by a design. My design. What are you talking about? He says, his voice dangerously low. Let us out. I can't let us out, I say, emphasizing the word. I can only let you out after she gets out first. But the doors are locked, aren't they? A real catch, 22. She can't get out until the doors are unlocked, and the doors won't unlock until she gets out. I let that sink in. What do you want, Lena? He whispers, his rage replaced by a dawning horror. I want my car back, I say, my voice as cold and clear as ice. Tell her to bring it home. Alone. Once the car's GPS confirms it's back in our garage, the passenger door will unlock for her. Then she can call a taxi. Or you can come and get her. I really don't care. I hang up the phone. I lean back in my chair and take a deep, shuddering breath. The climax isn't the trap. The trap is just the overture. The real show is about to begin. While Mark is stewing in my four-wheeled prison, my finger moves to the other screen. I send a single, pre-written message to Evelyn. Execute. A message comes back almost instantly.
Done.
And just like that, the world shifts. It's a silent, digital earthquake that he can't feel yet, but it has just leveled his entire world. At that exact moment, Evelyn is filing for divorce online, citing infidelity and financial fraud. At that exact moment, a court order is being executed to freeze every asset he has: his personal bank accounts, his investment portfolios, the secret LLC he used to buy the condo. The account he was planning to use to pay for dinner tonight now has a balance of 0. His corporate credit cards have just been canceled. The entire financial infrastructure of his life, his secret life, has just been demolished. He thinks his problem is that he's locked in a car with his hysterical mistress. He has no idea that the car is the least of his worries. The car is a distraction, a sleight of hand. While the audience is watching the magician's dramatic gesture, the real trick is happening somewhere else entirely. I watch the blue dot on the map. It sits there for a long, long time. An hour. Then 2. I can only imagine the conversation happening inside that car. The accusations. The tears. The slow, dawning realization for Tiffany that the rich, powerful man she was with is actually a powerless, broke fool, trapped in his wife's car. The ultimate symbol of his impotence. Finally, after nearly 3 hours, the blue begins to move. Slowly, hesitantly, it pulls out of the parking lot of the Seraphine. It's heading east. It's coming home. She's driving. She's returning my car to me, just as I demanded. I can picture her, face streaked with mascara, hands trembling on my steering wheel, driving through the city in the ultimate walk of shame.
Mark is gone.
The tracker shows his phone is now on foot, heading away from the restaurant. He must have finally figured out how to use the emergency manual release, a feature I conveniently forgot to mention, one that requires contorting yourself into the trunk to access. A little parting gift of physical discomfort to go with his financial ruin. I pack up my laptop. I leave the anonymous office and drive my own, much less interesting, backup car home. I get there just as Athena is pulling into the driveway. Tiffany is behind the wheel. She looks terrible. Her face is pale and puffy. Her expensive clothes are rumpled. She doesn't look at me as she gets out. The passenger door unlocks with a soft click, just as promised. She practically scrambles out, stumbling in her high heels. She doesn't say a word. She just turns and walks away, pulling out her phone, a refugee from a war she didn't even know she was fighting. I walk over to Athena. My Athena. I place my thumb on the sensor, and she unlocks for me with a welcoming chime. I slide into the driver's seat. It smells faintly of her cheap perfume. I wrinkle my nose and press a button on the console. A sequence I call air purification. The vents blast a gust of ionized, filtered air, purging the last trace of her from my space. My phone rings. It's Mark again. His voice is different now. The rage is gone. The panic is gone. It's been replaced by something hollow, something dead. My accounts are frozen, Lena, he says, his voice flat. All of them. I know, I say. The condo. Our condo. I correct him. It's a marital asset, bought with marital funds. Evelyn is quite insistent on that point. There's a long pause. I can hear the traffic in the background where he's standing, stranded. Why? He asks, and it's a genuine question. The question of a man who is so blinded by his own narcissism that he truly cannot comprehend that his actions have consequences. I think for a moment. I could scream at him. I could cry. I could list every betrayal, every lie, every moment of pain he put me through. But I don't. The robot has done her job. The architect has completed her design. Emotion is no longer required. You said it yourself, Mark. I say, my voice calm and even. I'm a nerd. A robot wife. I'm good with systems. And I found a bug in ours. So I debugged it. I hang up the phone. I put Athena in drive. The engine is silent, powerful. I pull out of the driveway, leaving the ghost of Tiffany and the wreckage of my marriage behind me. The road ahead is open and clear. I am in the driver's seat.
And for the first time in a very long time, I know exactly where I'm going.
The aftermath is not a fiery explosion, but a quiet, controlled demolition. The legal battle is laughably one-sided. Evelyn Reed, my shark of a lawyer, lays out the evidence with surgical precision. The secret bank accounts, the shell corporation, the condo, the photographs from the private investigator. It's an open and shut case of financial dissipation and infidelity. Mark's lawyer, a slick man with a cheap suit, can do nothing but posture and bluster. Mark sits across from me in the deposition room, a ghost of the man he was. He's lost weight. His expensive suit hangs off him. The confident swagger is gone, replaced by a sullen, defeated slump.
He doesn't look at me.
He can't. To look at me would be to acknowledge the totality of his miscalculation. He thought he was playing a game with a pawn. He never realized he was sitting across the board from a queen. The divorce is finalized in record time. I get the house. I get the majority of our assets as compensation for his fraud. I get my full pension and investment accounts, which he was legally barred from touching. And, of course, I get Athena. He gets his debts, his public humiliation, and his freedom. A freedom that now looks a lot like starting over from nothing. Tiffany disappears. Her social media goes dark. I hear through the grapevine that she moved to another state a week after what her friends now refer to as the carnapping. She was a casualty in a war she thought was a love story. I can't find it in me to feel sorry for her, but I don't feel triumphant either. She was a symptom, not the disease. The disease was Mark's ego, his deceit, his profound lack of character. Our mutual friends are forced to choose sides. Most of them, after hearing the full story, side with me. They call shocked and apologetic. We had no idea, Lena. He told us you were unwell. I accept their apologies graciously. I know he manipulated them just as he manipulated me. But a small, hard part of me remembers their pitying looks, their whispered conversations, and I know those friendships will never be the same. The trust, like the foundation of my marriage, has been irrevocably cracked. I spend the first few months of my new life in a state of quiet solitude. I work. I eat. I sleep. I drive. I take Athena on long, aimless journeys up the coast, the silent hum of her electric motor a soothing companion. The car feels different now. It's no longer just a creation or a sanctuary. It's a monument to my pain, my rage, and my resilience. It's the weapon I used to win my freedom. One evening, about 6 months after the divorce, I see him. I'm at a grocery store, buying something mundane like milk or bread. He's in the checkout line ahead of me. He looks older, tired. He's buying a frozen pizza and a cheap bottle of wine. He catches my eye, and for a moment, the world stops. There's no anger in his eyes anymore. Just a vast, empty sadness. He looks at me, and I can see the question he doesn't have the courage to ask. Was it worth it? I give him a small, polite nod, the kind you give a stranger. I don't smile. I don't scowl. I give him nothing. I am a blank screen. He looks away, pays for his sad little meal, and walks out into the night. I never see him again. That night, I realize that revenge is not a hot, satisfying meal. It's a cold, sterile medicine you take to cure a disease. It doesn't taste good. It doesn't make you happy. But it saves your life. My meticulous, calculated plan didn't bring me joy. It brought me justice. And with that justice came a quiet, profound peace. My life begins to rebuild itself on a new, stronger foundation. I pour myself into my work, taking on new projects that challenge and excite me. I start my own consulting firm. I reconnect with the friends who stood by me, and I make new ones, people who know me not as Mark's wife, but as Lena, the brilliant architect. I learn to sleep through the night again. I learn to laugh without a bitter aftertaste. I learn that being alone is not the same as being lonely. I am the sole architect of my life now. The code is clean. The system is stable. The bugs have been patched. Sometimes, when I'm driving Athena, the ambient light glowing a soft, contented green, I think about the Persephone protocol. The code is still there, dormant in her system, a sleeping dragon. I know I'll never use it again. I don't need to. Its purpose was served. It was the tool I used to tear down a rotten structure. Now, my tools are for building. The scars are still there. They always will be. Betrayal leaves a mark on the soul that never truly fades. But they are no longer open wounds. They are a part of my architecture, a testament to the fact that I survived a catastrophic system failure and rebooted myself, stronger and more resilient than before. I am not the Ice Queen he painted me as, nor the victim I allowed myself to become. I am the designer. And the future is an open road. Thanks for being here with me through this. If my story resonated, subscribing helps bring more of these to life. You never know who needs to hear that they can take the wheel back.